During Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Kyiv, the Indian leader, in keeping with his style, embraced Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. The hug has brought the conversation back to the warring president's condemnation when Prime Minister Modi did the same with Russian President. And that is the question that WION's principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibal asked President Zelensky. This is how the conversation went down.
Hi sir, I'm Siddhant from WION, is India's international channel. My question to you is, when Prime Minister Modi was in Moscow, you condemned the embrace between the Indian Prime Minister and the Russian President. He's here in Kyiv, he embraced you. Has your assessment changed because he is present in Kyiv, meeting you and hugging you?
And my signal of condemnation was not because the Prime Minister came to see Putin, but because the Prime Minister came to Putin and Putin killed our children, and we wanted to have some reaction, to hear some response. And I think it's important that the democratic world is understanding what is happening, that Putin is a killer.
Right, so Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has completed visits to war rivals Moscow and Kyiv. While the trips may have had contrasting outcomes, the underlying message was the same. Coming an entire month apart, two gestures of friendship involving the Indian Prime Minister, underlining India's diplomatic balancing act in the times of war and deep-set rivalries. The US White House said that it believes Modi's visit to Ukraine could be hopeful in resolving the Russia-Ukraine conflict. This was after reports had suggested that it was upset with Prime Minister Modi for embracing Russian President Putin during his trip to Moscow in July. Zelensky himself had slammed Prime Minister Modi's embrace as a huge disappointment and a devastating blow to peace efforts. A month since, the Indian Prime Minister has attempted to iron out the perceived tilt towards Moscow by warmly embracing Zelensky in Ukraine.
In our part of the world, when people meet people, they are given to embracing each other. It may not be part of your culture, but I assure you it's part of ours. So, in fact, today I think I saw the Prime Minister also embrace President Zelensky, and I've seen him do it with a number of other leaders in a number of other places.
India has always avoided explicit condemnation of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It had instead steadfastly urged both sides to resolve their differences through dialogue and diplomacy.
कि किसी भी समस्या का समाधान रणभूमि में कभी भी नहीं होता है। समाधान का रास्ता बातचीत से ही निकलता है, डायलॉग से निकलता है, डिप्लोमेसी से निकलता है, और हमने बिना समय गंवाए उस दिशा में आगे बढ़ना चाहिए। दोनों पक्षों को साथ बैठ करके इस संकट की घड़ी से बाहर निकलने के रास्ते तलाशने होंगे।
And our principal diplomatic correspondent Siddhant Sibal sent us this report from Kyiv. Listen to this.
Friday was a significant day for India-Ukraine relationship. The Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was here in Ukraine, and essentially when it comes to the relationship, several MOUs were signed, including on agriculture, on humanitarian assistance. But of course, the focus remained on the Russia-Ukraine war. India, of course, reiterated its position that dialogue is the only way forward. We also saw how he was welcomed, the Indian Prime Minister, at the residence of President Zelensky. But the fact that the leader of the world's largest democracy, even though India has a neutral stance, was present here in Kyiv, is seen as a support and a positive affirmation of relationship between the two countries. India, of course, has good relationship with Russia, but that doesn't stop India from having more engagement with Ukraine. And we saw that during this very short, in fact, few hours visit, but it looks like a substantive visit, given that the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has invited President Zelensky to visit India, and that is something that both sides will be working on. With video journalist Neeraj Patel, Siddhant Sibal for WION in Kyiv, Ukraine.
For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.